the simple formula to achieve anything you want. Have you ever looked at someone else's life and thought, wow, how did they do it? Maybe it was a celebrity, a business owner, or even someone you personally know who seems to have cracked the code of life. They're living in their dream home, traveling to amazing places, staying fit, or maybe just waking up every morning with peace of mind. And there you are, scrolling through your phone, wondering why it feels so hard to even start. Here's the truth nobody really tells you. Achieving anything you want in life isn't about being born into privilege, or luck, or even having connections. It's about following a simple formula. A formula that's not complicated, not buried in some 500-page self-help book, and not dependent on having millions of dollars in your bank account. It's something you and I can use right now, today. And in this article, I'm going to break it down for you, not in a boring lecture way, but in a real, storytelling style. Think of it like we're just two people having coffee and talking about what actually works in life. So buckle up, because by the end, you'll have a clear formula you can use to achieve literally anything you want. The dream always starts small. Let me take you back to a story. There was this young guy who loved drawing. Nothing serious, just doodles in the back of his notebooks during school. Most people told him drawing wasn't a real career, but he didn't listen. He kept sketching every single day, and eventually, those doodles turned into characters. Those characters turned into comics, and one day, those comics caught the eye of someone in publishing. Fast forward years later, and he was making a living doing what he once thought was just a silly little hobby. Now, you might not want to be an artist, but here's the lesson. Everything big starts small. Every house starts with one brick, every book starts with one sentence, every business starts with one idea. But here's the catch. Most people never get past the dreaming stage because they underestimate the power of starting small. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself you'll start when you have more time, more money, or when things are perfect? Spoiler alert, there's no such thing as a perfect time. The formula always begins with one simple step. Start small, but start now. Clarity beats motivation. Here's a common mistake people make. They think they need constant motivation to achieve their goals. They wait for that big rush of energy, the "I'm ready to change my life today" moment. But motivation is like sugar. It gives you a quick boost and then fades away. What you really need is clarity. Imagine trying to drive across the country without a map. Sure, you have gas in the car, motivation, but without directions, clarity, you'll end up lost. The formula to achieving anything requires you to be ridiculously clear about what you want. Not "I want to be successful." That's vague. Clarity sounds like, I want to earn $5,000 a month doing freelance writing within the next year. I want to lose 15 pounds in the next 4 months by eating better and exercising 4 times a week. I want to save $10,000 by the end of next year so I can finally take that dream trip to Italy. See the difference? Clarity gives your brain a target, and once your brain has a target, it starts filtering out distractions and spotting opportunities that align with it. So the second step of the formula? Get crystal clear on what you want. Break it down into ridiculously small steps. Here's another story. There was a guy who wanted to run a marathon, but he wasn't athletic at all. He could barely run down the street without gasping for air. If he had only focused on the big picture, 26.2 miles, he would have given up immediately. Instead, he focused on running just 1 block, then 1 mile, then 2. Before long, he wasn't just running marathons, he was running ultramarathons. The lesson? Big goals are intimidating. That's why most people give up. The secret is to break them down into laughably small steps. Want to write a book? Start with 1 page a day. Want to get fit? Start with a 10-minute walk. Want to build a business? Start with 1 customer. When you make the steps so small they almost feel silly, you remove the fear and resistance. And trust me, small steps compound. 1 page a day turns into a book. 1 customer turns into a business. 1 walk turns into a lifestyle. This is the third step of the formula. Shrink your goals until they're too small to fail. Consistency beats intensity. Now here's where most people mess up. They start strong, going to the gym every day for 2 weeks, working on their business nonstop, writing 10 pages a day. Then they burn out and quit. But achieving anything isn't about short bursts of intensity. It's about consistency. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't brush for 3 hours once a month. You brush for 2 minutes every day. That's what keeps your teeth healthy. The same applies to goals. It's not about going all in for a week and then collapsing. It's about showing up every single day, even if it's just for a little bit. Consistency is boring, but it's powerful. It's the quiet force that builds results over time. So the fourth step is this: focus on consistency, not perfection. The power of belief. Now, let's get real. None of this matters if you don't believe it's possible. Belief isn't just positive thinking, it's the foundation. If deep down you think you'll fail, you'll find ways to sabotage yourself. You'll procrastinate, you'll quit, or you'll settle for less. But if you genuinely believe you can do it, you'll fight through setbacks. You'll see failures as feedback, not the end. Here's an example. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. If he didn't believe he could succeed, he would have stopped after failure number 10. But belief kept him going. So the fifth step is simple but powerful. You have to believe in your own possibility. Even if you don't see the evidence yet, you must believe. Because belief shapes action, and action creates results. Environment shapes you. Here's a truth bomb. You can't achieve your goals if your environment is working against you. If you're trying to get healthy but your kitchen is full of junk food, you're setting yourself up to fail. If you want to build a business but all your friends spend their time complaining instead of hustling, you'll get dragged down. Your environment is stronger than your willpower. That's why people who move to new cities often reinvent themselves. A new environment forces new behaviors. So ask yourself, does your current environment support your goals or sabotage them? And if the answer is sabotage, it's time to make changes. The sixth step of the formula: design an environment that makes success the default. Learn, adjust, repeat. Now, let's be real. No plan is perfect. You will fail. You will make mistakes. You will face setbacks. And that's okay. The formula doesn't say you'll get it right on the first try. It says you'll keep learning, adjusting, and moving forward until you get it. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of the process. Think about it. Every child falls countless times before they learn to walk. But they don't stop and say, maybe walking isn't for me. They keep trying until they get it. That's the mindset you need for your goals. So the seventh and final step of the formula: fail forward, learn, adjust, and keep going. Lars, putting it all together. So let's recap the simple formula. 1. Start small, but start now. 2. Get crystal clear on what you want. 3. Break it down into ridiculously small steps. 4. Be consistent, not intense. 5. Believe it's possible. 6. Shape your environment for success. 7. Learn, adjust, repeat. That's it. No magic, no secrets, no complicated strategies. Just 7 simple steps anyone can follow. The real-life examples. Let's bring this home with a few powerful stories that show how the formula actually works in real life. J.K. Rowling. At one point, she was a single mom living on welfare, struggling to make ends meet. Life wasn't glamorous at all. She battled depression and rejection. Yet, in the middle of all that hardship, she didn't wait for the perfect time. She started writing Harry Potter in cafes while her baby slept next to her. Page by page, chapter by chapter, she built a world that would later capture millions of hearts. She faced dozens of rejections from publishers, but instead of quitting, she kept going. That's clarity, consistency, and belief in action. One small step habit of writing turned her into one of the most successful authors in history. Steve Jobs. Everyone sees Apple now as a trillion-dollar company, but they forget the messy beginnings. Jobs and his friend Steve Wozniak started in a garage with almost no money, just an idea. They didn't know if it would work, but they believed in it. Jobs was relentless about clarity. He wanted to build products that were simple, beautiful, and user-friendly. He failed many times, even got kicked out of the very company he built. But he kept adjusting, learning, and coming back stronger. That's the formula. Small steps, consistency, belief, and resilience. Oprah Winfrey. Her childhood was filled with poverty, abuse, and setbacks. By every statistic, she should have been another story of failure. But Oprah had vision and belief. She started small, working in local TV, often being told she didn't fit the traditional image for television. But she showed up consistently, poured her energy into her work, and built an environment of people who supported her. Step by step, she built her empire. Today, she isn't just a household name, she's a symbol of what happens when you stick with the formula no matter where you start. Elon Musk. Love him or hate him, his story shows what's possible when you think big but start small. PayPal didn't begin as the giant it is today. It started as a small digital payment idea. Musk used that success to fund Tesla and SpaceX, both of which almost went bankrupt multiple times. He could have quit, but his belief kept him going. He failed forward, adjusted, and stayed consistent, and now he's literally shaping industries. Serena Williams. She didn't just wake up as one of the greatest athletes of all time. As a little girl, she practiced for hours on rundown tennis courts in Compton, guided by her father's vision. She faced criticism, injuries, and losses, but she never gave up. She didn't let her environment define her. She created her own. Through relentless small steps, clarity of vision, and insane consistency, she became a champion who inspired millions. These aren't fairy tales. They're proof. Every single one of them followed the same formula we've been talking about. They didn't rely on luck. They didn't have all the answers at the beginning. They just started, stayed consistent, believed, adjusted, and kept moving. And here's the best part. You don't have to be famous or rich to use this formula. Ordinary people do it every day. The person who loses weight, pays off debt, builds a small business, or finally writes that book, they all use the same steps. They all use the formula, and you can too. Here's the thing. You already know deep down that you're capable of more. You've felt it before, in those quiet moments when you imagine a better version of your life. Maybe it's you sitting in your dream home. Maybe it's you traveling. Maybe it's just you feeling peaceful when you wake up. That vision you've had? It's possible. The only thing standing between you and that life is whether or not you'll use the formula. It's simple, it's doable, and it works. So, the next time you feel stuck, remember this. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to take the first step. Start small. Get clear. Break it down. Be consistent. Believe. Shape your environment. Learn and adjust. That's the formula. Your turn. Now I want you to ask yourself, what's the one thing you want right now? Not 10 things, just one. Write it down. Break it into small steps. And start today. Because your dream life isn't waiting for the perfect time. It's waiting for you to move. If this formula inspired you, don't just keep it in your head. Share it with someone who needs it. And if you want more real, no-fluff breakdowns like this, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and keep coming back for more. Your dream life is closer than you think. All you need is the formula.